Well, okay, so today we're going to be talking about psychic and mediumship. And one of the things that I do want to talk about with psychic and mediumship is there's been a lot of research done on it. And the research has shown that it is a right brain dominant. When you are psychic or medium, you are right brain dominant. So I want to ask everybody out there and really think about this question because as most people know, I suffered a traumatic brain injury and I became my psychic ability, my mediumship kind of just opened up. But I was always psychic and I was always a medium before this, but then it just went exploded out. So here's what I want to ask people is did you think about this? Did you have any type of head injury? Did you have a car accident? Did you fall out of a tree? Did you trip and hit your head and didn't think it was anything? Did you walk into a door? All of these things. Did you? I bet. How old were you? Do you remember?
I didn't remember this till like maybe 3 years ago, but I was
Okay.
like 9 years old, maybe 8 years old, and it was a Saturday matinee, and we're playing tag after the show, after the movie. And I remember a friend, playing tag, and I'm running, and my head, back of my head, hit the corner of the building, right at the corner where it meets, and I had to go to get an ambulance and go to the hospital, and I got stitches back there. I had about 6 stitches. So that was when I was like eight or nine.
So, would you say then that experience was leading you up to get your brain the way it is?
It could, Kelly. It could. It
Yeah,
certainly could. It certainly
it could.
could.
That
I was
it
always
would
like,
change the brain chemistry. It would change the brain, you
interesting.
know. So pay attention, everybody. That's a fascinating story because you know how many children fall and hit their heads and do things like that? A
Well,
lot.
Peter Herko's a very famous psychic in Holland. He was a house painter, and he fell off his ladder and hit his head. And he was an incredible psychic. And I was actually in an audience with him. And he had people put all their belongings, some of their belongings, jewelry or rings, whatever, on a table. And then he walks into the room and he'll pick up an object and tell you exactly about that person. And sure enough, the person was right there. So, yeah, head
Wow,
injury,
how
exactly right.
interesting. Wow.
Peter Herko.
So that's one way is a head injury. Another way is look at your life. Did you have some huge illness? Illness also can
True.
make you a little more right brain dominant.
Very
So
much.
if I had encephalitis as a kid, as a 3-year-old, and almost actually died and came back, but encephalitis is a high fever in the brain. That's what you kind of want to look at. And the other question I want to ask everybody before we get into the subject, so you'll kind of have an idea here is, are you an HSP, a highly sensitive person? Or are you an empath? All empaths are HSP, but not all highly sensitive people are empaths. And so what the difference is this, when you walk into a room as a highly sensitive person, it too much stimulus, too much
Yeah.
stimulation. You've got to leave and it takes you, you've got to go home and recover and you have to go rest and you have to recover. And an empath walks in a room and they connect to everything in the room. That's the difference. That's actually the difference.
But you could be both.
You can be both. You can be both. So think like this. Are you highly sensitive? If you are highly sensitive, the chances of you being intuitive are 100%. Don't you think, James? I mean, I think
Definitely. And
that. And then
living example. Definitely.
yeah, the other thing you really want to look at too is as we get into this subject is, were you told as a child, were you really sensitive as a child? Were you because children actually have these survival instincts and they actually become very psychic because they have, like, for I'll use my own example, my father was alcoholic and a drug addict, and so I had to be very intuitive, like my intuition was out of my body. you know so,
Same.
right? You too, James, right? I
My
mean,
mother was an alcoholic my life, and I had to survive by myself,
that's
really,
it.
my life. Yeah, survival mode from day one.
Survival mode will do it. Survival mode will do it. So if there was
Yeah, but it also
fear,
helped me, Kelly, to be my own best friend. It really helped me to have a relationship with me, which is really interesting because I don't know if that would have happened otherwise. But it forced me to go within.
you were really lucky that you were able to view it that way and really do it because that would have scared a lot of kids.
Most kids probably, but obviously I
Yeah.
came into this work, so who knows? And
Right. Right. So true. So look at your fear. If you had any fear about it or stigma on your, if your parents said, "Oh, we don't do that, don't talk that way," and and they kind of shut it down. So you want to look at that. And the other,
Kelly, also, we talk about it happens a lot when we workshop with people, and we talk about various chakra centers or energy points. And it's really interesting that a lot of empath or NHSPs have a hard time blocked. The throat chakra is blocked many times, and
Yeah,
when we find out why, it's because their parents or adults said, "Don't speak, don't say that. You're not. Don't say that," because kids will speak the truth if they see it, and
that's
it's
so
your
sad.
imagination. It's your imagination. So a lot of that, I'm sure, with this group here we have, I'm sure a lot of
Right.
people experience that.
Well,
So
and you're really right with this because then what happens is now you're at a certain age and you want to be a psychic or you want to be mediumistic and yet you might have this thing in your brain that's saying no, I can't do it or it's not right or I don't know.
and that's what makes it live from the inside out, not the outside in. To
Right.
live from the inside out.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful. That's so true. And so those are the kind of subjects that I wanted to talk about. And what last thing I want to say is, as an intuitive or as a psychic and a medium, you have to watch if you thinking that you are an intuitive or if you want to go there, you have to watch being so busy that you're not paying attention to the psychic information that comes in. Being so busyness kind of keeps things out of our systems, keeps us from running or keeps us running. And then we never really get to slow down enough to
Yeah.
experience the intuition and the mediumship.
Just being in part of your stillness of being, whether it's through
Yeah,
breath work, whether you're walking down a pathway or a sidewalk or wherever it might be, just take time and just by breathing and center yourself. And the
that's it.
stillness for me has been my number one development tool.
I
Just sitting this
agree.
being,
Yeah,
and it helps me appreciate myself more from my soul perspective and the world around, of course, and
yeah,
each other.
right.
Yeah.
It's
And
everything, really.
when you have this psychic intuitive self, the intuition is the soul's tuning fork, as we know. But when you have that and you use it, it's got to be used responsibly and with integrity, because
Oof.
remember that the knowingness that you have and you share can help people, but also harm people, can really hurt people, and that's not what it's about. It's
Right,
about building people up, not tearing them down.
right. Boy, is that the truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we live
Wow.
that. You got to walk your talk.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
true. It's true. So that's what I was gonna say.
what that was. I wrote a lot of
Yeah.
that.
Did you like some of that was good.
Yeah, it was good. Very good. So I was just going to talk about intuition. I believe that we come into this life, we come in with a whole toolbox of things, of tools to use, and we just have to have the courage to kind of open up the toolbox and go inside and use them. And intuition or survival mode or instinct, we had to have
Mhm,
everybody's intuitive in one way or another because
mhm.
we have instinct, and that's how we survived as babies with our mother. We lived because there was an instinctual connection with
Right.
our mothers, soul to soul, and we kind of told her on a level what we needed, whether it's drinking more water or eating better or resting, whatever it might be. It starts at the very age. So we're born with intuition. But like we are just talking about, it gets shut down by the age of 7, 8, or 9, when I believe that the programming from the
Mhm.
adults
Yeah.
get in the way because kids are so open and they're joyous and look at the world around. There's imagination. But then they get into a system where they're told you have to get A on the test. You got to be the best you can be. You can't. Don't do that. All these different rules
Well,
and
they get put into a left brain dominant place and they might be more right brain or they might
right.
be more sensitive or more right brain. I mean, you get put into a left brain place. I mean, you want to talk about survival and being scared. I mean, that can be really
I
disruptive.
just think how messed up that is for kids that are
Really messed
really
up because then it goes into their psyche that they're not good enough. They can't figure it out. When I was in school, James, I would just know the answer and they thought I was cheating. I wasn't
yeah.
cheating. I didn't know. I just blurted it out because it just came to me.
Instinctiveness. Yeah,
But it
same.
was funny. I lost either way. It's the damnedest thing.
I just took a test to be. I'm going to go work at a nursery part time. So
He did tell me
I,
that this morning. It's
I
true.
have to, and I had to take a test,
How'd you
a culture
do?
test. I did really well. I did 18 out of 20.
Honey,
And I know, right?
congratulations.
It was just instinctive. It was all intuitive because the other thing I didn't get right was really the botanical names of certain plants, but that's okay because I just like the color and the shape and the size. But the job requires someone to help people fill their baskets, if you will, water the plants, and then be happy. And I said, I can do that.
You can do that. You wanted to get out and kind of you love to be
Yeah,
among plants.
and teaching people in a very subtle way, but really kind of being around the public in a sweet way. and enlightening their lives, or just coloring their lives in different ways.
There you go.
Yeah. But I think so. Everybody has intuition. Now, if we get to left brain dominant, which is the analytical, critical mind, many times, not all the time, but we push the right side away,
Yes.
and it really they will come together and fight each other sometimes. And
Yes.
someone's a highly sensitive person or empathetic, there'll be a battle sometimes when they listen to.
Oh,
And I know this. I know people around me that or left
it's
brain,
rough.
really right brain Pisces people, but yet they're really the analytical.
Right.
So it's tough. There's a confusion in a way,
Right.
and
I always get a kick out of it when I'll have a session with somebody who's maybe more analytical, and I'll look at the chart and I know intuitively that they're not using their intuition. And I'll say, you really did come here to be very intuitive. And they don't know what I'm talking about.
wow,
So
wow.
they I have to really start them off kind of gently that way down the path.
And you think, Kelly, that they were shut off when they were
Yes,
children? Could possibly
100%.
shut off.
100%. Because we're born with this.
Yeah, for
Who's
sure.
born like this? Like without any of intuition? Nobody.
Right. And intuition, by the way, folks, creativity, that energy of
Yes.
creativity, inside of intuition and mediumship, creativity, that
Right.
force, if you will, that's very,
Right.
very much part of it. So it's just opening to that.
So
So in
James,
any way you can help that out.
what's the difference between I'm asking the rhetorical question between being a medium and being a psychic?
Well, everybody's psychic from one degree to the other. Everybody's intuitive, means into the soul. Intuition means into the soul. So we all have the energy of intuitive self. I believe that everybody is has the ability of mediumship, only because mediumship is a little different, and in that mediumship is communication with higher realms or
Mhm.
spaces of the spirit realms, if you will. And it takes a little bit more of energy in order to do that, to sustain that
Yeah.
frequency and tuning in properly, right? So I think every psychic is a medium. Not every medium is a psychic. So you can be
Yeah.
extremely, extremely psychic, but not necessarily mediumistic. And I've done a lot of great psychics with Peter Urkos, great,
Yeah.
great psychic, but not mediumistic. Just because you're psychic doesn't mean you're mediumistic. Now, everybody can hear from spirit. So everybody can hear their loved one. How can that be done? Well, you're a soul. So the only difference is you're a soul encased in the body and they're a soul outside of the body.
I love
But
that.
they can still send you thoughts telepathically, feelings, sensations, and you pick it up. It's not like you have to be this certain being. You're a soul, so you would be able to hear
Right.
them, feel them. Maybe you don't know how to interpret it, or that energy is foreign to you, but you certainly get insights from your loved ones. And there's an exercise which I do with a lot of people, which you can do after the show tonight, and that's sit in a space. You might have heard me do this before. Um, Sit in space and do breathing exercises, bring yourself to centering, and just become aware of the stillness around you. That's all you gotta do. So even if you're a left brain person and you might get this, we call it monkey brain, where you get all these thoughts in your head. Okay, I'm gonna have for dinner. Oh gosh, is the door closed? Whatever it might be. See that for what it is, and then let it go. So I go back to the breath. So breathing in and breathing out. And it's like it almost reminds me of on a boat on the lake. That there'll be waves, but don't let
Yeah.
the waves take over. Just stay still in the boat. So I go back to my breath, and then I ask spirit, and I will ask someone specifically to please come behind me and stand behind me and put your hands on my shoulders. And I go through the breath when I do that, breathing in 3 and out 5. You always exhale 2 beats longer than you inhale. And
Oh,
I'll just do that till I start feeling a shift. And now, throughout this whole time, which for everybody here, you got to use your heart and intuition and mediumship, not your head.
yeah.
When you start using that left brain, it'll shut it right off. And you'll get that
That.
critical self, the old patterns will come in. So
Mhm.
you really got to go back to the breath. If you get lost in it, you got to go back to the breath. It just has to come closer to you until you really start feeling the emerging of the two souls, of the soul from the spirit side of life, from the outside, the physical, coming into your soul to soul communication. And you'll receive insights, you'll receive sometimes sensations of energy, all different experiences will happen. It's very interesting experience. So the
Yeah.
more you do that, the easier it would be to, if you will, discern the spirit and become one with them. It's
Mm.
practice. Intuition is easier, but an intuitive exercise which I love, and this is my school. I have this one. I have many exercises in my school because of psychic classes and mediumship classes. But one of the ones that Spirit gave me years ago, which I love, put a time aside, and at that time, a particular time, I'd love for you to go and think of one person, just one person in your life, And what I want you to do is I want you to take a pad and pen and write down what they're doing at that particular time. Even if you haven't spoken, it's better if you haven't spoken to them. You don't know what they're doing. Just write down your impressions. You kind of become them in your mind and write down everything that comes to you. So maybe you're outside, there's a pine tree, there's a blue sky, or maybe there's a beach, or maybe you're at a market, whatever it is, write it down. And then later on, about an hour later or next day, check with your friend and ask them what they were doing at that time.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a great one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
intuition is it's really like it's a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get at it. So there's all fun little ways of exercises too to increase the development of your intuitive self. Like for instance, you get an email. We all do. Before you open the email, try to intuit what the content is. If you're going to a restaurant, try to intuit what the restaurant looks like if you've never been there before. Maybe you're
Yeah.
meeting somebody at some kind of meeting. Try to intuit what color clothes they're wearing. What's the style? If you've never met them, what is their facial features about? What is the personality about? So you can use it all different places. LA, we do parking spaces, right?
Yeah, it was a big one. Yeah.
So every day you can use it as a fun type of thing.
Mhm.
Elevator banks, which bank's going to open first? You know, it's all different. Like I do it with the grocery store. Let's see, where are the sale items? And I go to aisle 7, or trying to find a product, you know, where it is, and try to intuit where it is. And I do it each time, and most of the time I'm pretty right. I wasn't good with squeegees yesterday at Bed Bath & Beyond, but I was pretty close. Little things like that, and it's just using the
Right.
inner self, the inner knowledge to increase it. And it's almost, Kelly, wouldn't you say that it's like a second language?
Oh, it is absolutely a second language. It's the language for me that's critical. I mean, it's everything for me that using that
It's so true.
and
And what people saying in the room here, when they think, it goes away. Very, very true. When I teach
right,
classes, and when you think about it, you left brain it, you put a wall up, and it
right,
can't fall. You lose it,
right.
whether it's mediumship or psychic.
That's so true. That's so true. Um, if you ever notice, if you think of somebody, you'll get a thought of somebody, and then the next day you'll get an email or a phone call from them.
Well, I have a friend that I'm just about to think about her, and with the phone rings. So, yeah.
There you go. I mean, it's oh yeah,
Kelly and
that's
I
true.
every day, 3 times a day. It just
Literally, it's
literally,
hysterical.
it's pretty funny. No matter where we are in the world, it happens. It's
Yeah,
very true.
this is true.
And the more you
So
know somebody, the more you vibe with them too. So you're
yeah,
in this kind of the
that's
same
so
wave.
true. So James, when I do mediumship, how when spirit comes close to me, for me, start to feel chills everywhere.
Yeah.
That's like a huge sign. I could feel everything opening up, and I start to feel chills coming down everywhere. What about you? Do you have that?
It's different for every single
Hmm.
person. It's very different for each individual. So no one should ever copy anybody else at
Right.
all. Everybody's unique. Everybody will receive differently. Everyone's a different level of
Right.
sensitivity, and the
Right.
spirit world will use you differently depending on
Oh,
the best.
totally.
Right. So for me, over many years now, it's been so many years. It's for me. It's like a switch in my mind, and I really just what I do is I do before I do a reading though. I will relax the mind as best as I can with
Yeah.
breath and maybe a beautiful visualization. And then I really get my mindset into a space of gratitude, service, and
Yeah.
humility. And that's really where I get
Boy,
that.
is that brilliant. Yeah.
And then the excitement of working with the spirit world that
Yeah.
I'm going to hopefully, because you can never tell. Sometimes you have bad days, sometimes good days. You never can tell. It's not a constant
No.
mediumship. You know, there are 3 factors as an the audience member, the spirit world, and yourself.
Yeah.
And those 3 factors have to really be in tune. And that's why sometimes we do Zoom calls with readings with people, and I'll say, please stop thinking. Please stop asking for people in your head because it's blocking the energy, makes it harder for the spirit world to send a thought. Because when they send that thought, it's like a sound wave. It gets lost in all that other junk. It can't get through. So that's why we tell people just relax the mind as best as you can. And the experience will be incredible if you just relax, let them take over.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I like the process of it. And for me, it all depends on well, I'm sure for you too, Kelly, the spirit themselves. The
Yeah.
spirit world will usually choose the medium, believe it or
I
not.
say that all the time. Yeah.
Very
If
true.
people think they're choosing the medium, they're actually not. It's the other side is choosing the medium.
And how they get through. I mean, what the miracles they do and what the
Yeah.
webs that they, you know, that they spin because it's amazing because they get to the perfect medium for that person. I love a spirit that comes through who has, like myself, a sense of humor, fun personality, doesn't take things so seriously, because like attracts like, and it would be easier for me then to bring through, if you will, that information that I'm aware of, that the references they use, I'm familiar with, and that makes the best mediums. Really, the more one lives, the more life experience a
Right.
medium has, the better their
Right.
mediumship, because the spirit world can use all of those references of the medium.
Very true. That's so true. Um, what about people that are spiritual, and have this ability to start to raise their vibration from being psychic to mediumship? How does that work?
Okay.
Can people start to do that?
Yes. So to me, like I said earlier, everybody is mediumistic to a point. So I do believe that everybody is, and I always use the analogy of everybody has the ability to play the piano, but not everybody is a concert pianist.
Right.
So it's a different skill set. So you can develop as much as you can to that level that you're at. I believe that.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe that. So we call it sitting in the power, which really means, if you will, and it's different to each medium. Sitting in the power, to me, what that means is really using the spirit energy, that life force, and building upon that self of love of self and of the world around you, and the universal energy, and bringing that up to, if you will, raise your vibration, raising the frequency of the vibration of
Okay.
the physical body, of the inside. Like I said to all my people a lot of the time, and this 70, I say 30% of the soul is inside here, but 70% is out here.
Right.
I'm not sure about the percentages of that, but the analogy is that most of us are living out here, and we're not aware of that. We're just so stuck in this physical. So really, with mediumship, what I try to do when we call sitting in the power is I open myself up to those higher levels of where that higher self is, the higher soul, that vibration. And
Mm.
sometimes I'll get there in different ways, at different times. As many times I'll think about a picture of myself, my feet on my shoulder reaching up, sometimes mountain climbing, reaching up, sometimes a rocket ship, sometimes just a beautiful heart with beams of light, just going to that beam of light, all different ways, depending upon what I'm feeling that day, I guess you'd say. But
Yeah.
just the point is, get to that space of higher, that frequency of
Mhm.
unconditional love. And it's because of that loving energy is how communication takes place. The only way it's possible to take place is through love. And a medium, a great medium, is one of service. Service.
Right. Absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
mediums that, I've been getting calls left and right, people saying, "Tyler Henry got a TV show on Netflix, a reality show." I said, "Good for him. Good for him, and bad for us in some ways. Good for us in that it's good to get the word out about life after death.
I
Bad for
know.
us in that he hasn't enough life experience to
I
really
know.
that."
I mean,
And
it's so true.
in a reality series, it's not great because you take people's lives in your hands. And if it's
I
with someone
know.
who doesn't have life experience, it's a bit tough. So, yeah,
Yeah.
mixed feelings about that, but it's good that it's out there. When I did Ghost Whisperer, and I was upset about the opening was always fear based, and my Virgo got a little upset about that, and I
I
worked with them,
bet. I
and I
bet.
asked Spirit, why would they do that? And they said, James, you have to think of the bigger picture.
Right.
People that will watch this program, this is how they said it. People will watch this program will find that they're questioning life after death, and that's
Ah, that was the bigger thing. Yeah.
it gets
Wow.
them on their path. Yeah.
Wow.
Someone earlier wrote this, Kelly, and she said a loved one of hers passed over, and because of that, she became very psychic after a loved one passed, or very mediumistic,
Yes.
and that's very common, isn't it?
Very common. Absolutely. Because you start all of it. Well, what happens, especially if you lose somebody that's close to you, they want to make contact often, right? And
Yeah.
you might be sitting there having a cup of coffee going, "No, this can't be happening." This have you seen, the Ricky Gervais show, Afterlife?
I've seen episodes of it.
Some of it.
I don't have patience enough to sit through it, but I've seen about 2 episodes of it.
Yeah, I think I
So,
did too. But, there's those things, his wife dies, and he's all of a sudden, he's getting these messages, he's feeling her around, and that's, I think, what happens.
we always get messages. I mean, every day we get patterns of things. The thing is, do we
Oh, yeah.
notice them? I
Oh,
mean, the
yeah.
spirit world is throwing things at us left and right, but we're so in our 9 to 5 kind of day and thinking about ourselves that we're not open to receiving these very
Exactly.
subtle,
If you're too
fine
busy,
lines.
you're gonna miss it. You gotta
Exactly.
really slow that down. everything's
It's very interesting. I often say that they're the puppet masters and we're the marionettes, and we have to be able to become aware of the fine string, and those are the patterns that go around. And if you start noticing the finer strings, you'll begin to see and know how everything is connected and how that person came into your life for that reason and how this had happened that way for that to occur later on. And I find that fascinating. Like, wow,
fascinating.
it's we're linear here in the three-dimensional world, but outside of that, it's not linear at all.
I
So,
know, my gosh. Well, I took that test that you were talking about, that's on your site. I took that,
yeah,
came
there's a
out
test at
medium.
Hay House. Yes, I'm doing a course at Hay House. It's Psychic Medium Healer course, and it's to find out if you have which ability you have. And oh, there it is. Oh, great, Spirit
Thanks,
Worker. Thanks,
Renee.
Renee. And there's a test we put on there for people. It's a free test and it's a free 4-day challenge for everybody. And you can see if you're a healer, more resident healing, mediumship, or psychic. And 90% of the people are right on when they've done this. So a lot of people did it this afternoon. We did this, but it's March 21st. But check it out. It's really interesting that you go there and you go in Hay House. You can find them at Hay House. It was their #1 course for a long time, for 2 years
Wow.
ago, for a while. And they wanted to bring it back. And I said, yeah, because, I don't know if they have a lot of people that put their heart and soul into courses, but I did.
Yeah. I know
Done
that's
very well
true.
for them. Done very well for them. It's a good course. And what did you find from your answers?
A medium.
Medium. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Medium.
And you
I
too.
got healer medium. I got both healer medium.
Mm. Yeah, I got medium. It says, this is interesting. Tanya Bradenberg says, I have strong gifts and I've been running from them forever, which a lot of people do.
Yeah. Well,
They
yeah.
run from them.
It's fear. It's fear
It's
based.
fear. Yeah.
Fear is it could be so many reasons why fear of the unknown. It could
Yeah.
be how you're programmed as a child, religious backgrounds,
Mhm.
all this stuff. Putting it's to me, it's mostly the unknown. And so I told someone the other night that you have to read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, open yourself up to just absorbing as much as you can.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of natural to I have to discover everything I can. Maybe it's my Scorpio overlay, Kelly.
Right. Maybe.
Natural detective, but I want to find out how things work. That's my natural instinct or my
Right.
yeah. And my Virgo, my sun in Virgo, I'm 0 degree Virgo, so I'm just into Virgo.
Right.
So I find that I use my Virgo traits mostly when I'm writing a book,
Oh,
and
okay.
also when I'm doing my work as a medium. The details have to be clear, and if I know that they're not clear, and I just give a sense that this doesn't feel right, and even down to the recipient that I'm working with, it'll feel right or it'll feel completely off. And when it feels off, you got to know the difference, and you got to be willing to say, "No, it's not you. I'm sorry." And
Right.
you've seen me do this many times, but you get it when you get that sense of this is directly for that person. It really makes a big difference, and you have to be willing to do that.
All right. That's so true. Here's a question for you, James, from Christian Shamel. She said, James, when you're in front of a group, can you spot people whose vibration or ability is high, like colors? Or she said, I seem to draw that sort of attention when I've been to group presentations and readings, and I'm typically quiet and try to blend in.
Yes, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. 40 years, yeah, you betcha. Whether it's a public demonstration that I've done many times, and my next one, by the way, is in Peekskill, New York in April. So anyone wants to go, that April 23rd, or 24th, I'll be in Peekskill, New York for the first time in 3 years. I'll be working on stage.
Wow, James, that's going to be something.
Uh,
Everybody's very
um,
lucky they're going to be there and see that.
it'll be well, people had tickets, I guess 500 tickets 3 years ago when COVID started, and they kept the tickets.
Oh
So I
my gosh.
kept those tickets for 3 years. The people kept their tickets.
Oh
Like,
my
really?
gosh.
So it'll be fun. I've been on an airplane in 3 years. It'll be an interesting story. But I've seen that in audiences. I've seen lights around people. I've seen the auric field. And I've said this many times, which this is what my common thing is. I can see, it's not hard for me to talk to dead people. I can do that, right? The hard part is I see around people their abilities, their colors, their gifts,
Yeah.
their opportunities, and they don't see it for themselves.
Mm.
That's the hard part. That's like, oh, I wish I could.
It's so true. People get so stuck or fixed.
And
It's
even in therapy, you probably go through that. You see,
oh,
because you're psychic as well. So,
oh.
right? Therapy.
I'm like, look, here's the road. Go here, do this. But they get stuck in in their stuff. Here's a good question. Kathleen M says, can you be a balanced brain and still be BR? I'm not sure what BR means, but a balanced brain. Yes, you can still be a
You're actually
balanced.
it or not, you're actually with two people who are pretty well balanced
We're
brain wise.
yeah,
We have left
absolutely.
and right brain. Kelly's a therapist. I'm a Capricorn Virgo. I'm very down to earth, very
Yeah.
much in
So you
details.
can be both, definitely. You can use both sides of that brain for this. I mean, we need a left brain in this world.
And remember, our makeup, our soul makeup, is not by accident,
No,
folks.
it's not. None of this is by accident.
It
A
was
lot of
cosmically
people,
created.
a lot of people got healer, James. They're saying they
I've got
received.
healer. I'm not surprised in this group. I'm
Yeah,
not a bit surprised most people got healer in this group.
yeah, interesting.
I don't do
Um,
personal readings anymore, but I do have people on my website, which is vanpraagh.com, that do readings. Kelly does readings.
I do.
I have a list of people. Kelly, you're booked up for quite a bit, though, aren't you?
I am, but yep. What I do is I open up 1 month at a time because I'm not sure where I'm going to be, so I want to make sure I just do 1 month at a time.
I got to tell Kelly to slow down because somebody goes, she just wants to give it. Kelly, you have to have
I have.
balance.
I'm really trying. I'm trying for that
You're doing
balance.
much better, really, you are.
Thank
So
you, honey. I
I'm ready to
appreciate
read
that.
your book when you're ready to send me it. So
Yeah, I'm so excited. So can you be a balanced brain and still be intuitive or psychic? Yes, yes, that's the
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Yes, you can.
yes.
Yes, you can. So let's see. People are loving this.
Caffeine, the true caffeine is not good to have when doing readings. Not necessarily. I mean, I
Oh,
understand where you're coming from, and I did write about this in one of my books early on. I'm not sure I was talking to heaven. Of course, I've lived life and things a little bit differently now, but I think we got to be very, very careful, or if you will, just be mindful of the effect that chemicals have in the body.
be
For
very mindful of
when
that.
you do
Yeah.
intuitive work or mediumship work. For me, I know a lot of people who start having a drink and they just go to reading like crazy. Well, of course, because you slow down, you're lowered your defenses, but it's not good to lower the vibration. Not
Oof.
good. Because like attracts like, and you want to raise your vibration to the love. Fear slows us down. And you don't want to go to, I'm not going to talk about hell because I don't believe in hell, but I do believe there are different levels. There are many, many levels, I believe. And you go to that level which you created based upon your thoughts, words, and deeds. And there are lower levels, no doubt about it, that people lived in complete fear, and if you will. So I think when you drink, like alcohol, it's slow, and you're doing a reading, worst thing to do.
Worst thing ever.
I was once working with a medium, and actually did twice, and I should not have. It was a test for me, and she was drinking wine, and I'm like, "Why are
Yeah.
you doing that?" "Well, you're drinking caffeine." I said, "But caffeine raises the vibration."
Mhm.
So I'm still aware of things, but wine, drinks like the alcohol, not good,
And you
not good.
can see also when you're doing I was going to mention this to you when we're doing a mediumship, you can see, well, if you're watching somebody, that they can slip from mediumship, so they're doing, reading and talking to another soul on the other side, and then they slip in, go down into psychic ability.
That's Tyler Henry. There you go. So
That's it
that's,
right there.
and I love him. He's a nice kid. He's doing the best he can with what he knows,
Yeah.
But if you watch the show, watch him work, you'll see that he goes in, he has a connection with the link with spirit, which you have to sustain that high vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you fall down to the psychic, which is a much easier, lower vibration. You don't have to
That's the
work on it.
difference.
And
Mhm.
if you notice Tyler, he does that. And I don't think the poor guy knows. I don't think he's aware of that. So, but he should be made aware of it. And people who say they're mediums should be know the difference because there is such a big difference.
Oh, it's a huge
Whether you're
difference.
getting a new job, you're getting a new job, you move to an apartment, you're going to have this, you have a child. That's all psychic. But a mediumship is really evidential. It's giving, if you will, a memory of this person, of these people, how they lived in the physical. It's like you're painting a picture of them when they were living here, or their past, how they passed, the conditions, their personality, bringing
Yeah.
through their personality, aspects of that personality. That's really what we have to do with mediums. And a medium is someone who really is always trying to aspire to a higher level, always. Never stop studying, never stop
So
aspiring to a
true.
higher level. I mean, every
So true.
day I'm like, oh, I could have been better. I could have done this. Like we
Right.
all do with our lives every day. I shouldn't have said this or should have done that. I could have done this.
Yeah.
But also with the mediumship, it's such a responsibility.
Oh my
Just
God.
and I know too many mediums, they call
Mhm.
themselves mediums, and they lack that. And they don't walk their talk. And just because someone is a medium doesn't mean they're spiritual, by the way, which people should understand that.
I
Kelly and I talk a lot.
talk about that a lot. Here's a question now, James. This is from Vincent Lister. So he says, I have so many souls that are constantly trying to contact me. I actually have asked them not to bother me. Does this happen to you?
No, no. Because if you're developed correctly, that would never happen.
Yeah.
So
No.
it tells me you're not developed correctly.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
little bit of the
Maybe you're
ego.
just starting out, Vincent.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Vincent, you'll get to that point of You're more in control of it than you think you are. A lot of people think in mediumship that you surrender and you just give up. You never give up. You're always aware of what's going on. Even in trance mediumship,
Right.
you are very aware of what's happening. So
Right.
it's not like you just give yourself over there and that's it. Not in the least. You're more in control than you think you are. I mean, really, Kelly, would you say you're more in control? You're so
Completely.
distinctly
Completely.
hyped up,
Yeah.
and you're very on tune. You're in
Yeah.
tune with everything. So yeah.
Absolutely. You get to that point.
Very good misnomer, Kelly. A lot of people think that you just surrender.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not.
No.
Surrender is a big part of mediumship, but not that type of surrender.
No.
You certainly have to have all your marbles, and you got to be in control of your
True.
body.
You have to be really in the body and really present.
Don't have marbles sometimes.
Right.
So and you also got to be open to a point where you're bringing through a spirit who might have had a very difficult life
Yeah.
and situations in their life that you have to be able to discuss and be open to, and going through those pains or those situations, whether it's abuse, whether it's murder, whatever it might be. You have to be willing to go there fully, because
You have to fully embrace that. And you have to, because you're working with a soul here who's sitting here in front of you. And that person has really gone through a lot of deep situations, deep life emotions. You have to be really careful. I mean, as a medium, you're holding their heart.
you're holding their
Period.
heart. It's like a
And
thin
you're like a
glass.
surgeon that way. You've got to be really careful with this.
And I always think if you're getting into mediumship, well, even everyday life, but especially in mediumship, there's an extra responsibility. And then
Oh,
when you pass over, you certainly don't want to be one of those people that pass over and standing there to meet you are all the people whose name you took in vain. You don't want that there.
oh, that would
That would be
be,
very nice. That would be a nice arrival, now would it?
it would just be awful. Susie Burrows asks, hi, Susie. She says, what
Hi,
can we
Steve.
do as mediums during these extraordinary times to expand light to the world?
Well, what do you think, Kelly?
Well, I think, first of all, send a lot of light to the world. Have gratitude that we're even here during this extraordinary time. And is it a difficult time? It is a difficult time. You still have to have this, expand your light out to everybody with
Right.
this.
Like working on the inner planes, if you will. So
Yeah.
even everyday life, let's say there's someone in your life that you need to forgive and you don't want to call that person or email them, whatever it might be. You certainly can send love to them on the inner planes, inner realms. Same thing now with the situation in the world. Send love to the whole earth, Ukraine, Russia, Putin. You need to send love to Putin, to send him to open up to love. There's got to be love. Love is the strongest force in the universe. So it can break through egos, it can break through the human. The stronger we use that energy of love, the more it'll pierce the darkness. It's very, very
Right.
true. So
It
imagine
is so
that you
true.
keep that your thoughts, imagination of creating that light and love to everyone on the planet, especially in those war-torn places.
Yeah, oh, it's so true. Oh my gosh. I have to read this out loud because it got my attention. Karen Maynard. She said, I kept my tickets for Little River Band. Finally going to go see the rescheduled show in April. So Karen, he's a really good friend of ours. So have fun at that
Great.
show.
Have a great
I
time.
know that they worked really hard to make that
I'm
show
jealous.
happen.
I'm jealous. I love them. They're great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's one of Don's closest friends. So that's going to be fun. It'll be a fun show for you guys.
I
What?
just had a dance off party the other night, Friday, which I suggest everybody do, because I miss dancing. I miss going out. So I had some friends over, 2 or 3 friends, and we put old videos on of old good Salt and Pepper and Donna Summer and
I love
Fleetwood
Donna
Mac
Summer.
and David Bowie, and
How
we
fun.
just had a dance off, and it was so much fun.
How fun. You have fun to dance with. You love
was
it. I
great.
mean,
Yeah, it was
so
great.
funny. All
Thank
right.
you, love.
Take everybody.
Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean, left.